Hi, and welcome to Two CPAs and the Mic, the podcast where we talk tax, finance, and all things related to business. Whether you're a business owner, working professional, or someone who wants to start a career in accounting, this is the podcast for you. Hosted by CCK Strategies partners Jeff Frable and Sara Mays, we dive into relevant business and tax matters with working professionals to make these topics less intimidating, relatable, and dare we say fun? Let's get down to business.
Welcome to this week's episode of Two CPAs and the Mic. My name is Jeff Frable. I'm a partner with CCK Strategies. And as always, we are here talking about relevant business and tax topics, doing it in such a way that we're applying straight talk and practical information, but without all the jargon and stuffiness normally associated with our profession. As always, I have I say amazing too much, my wonderful co-host, Sara Mays. What's up, Mays?
What's up, Frable? I like wonderful. We can call it wonderfully amazing.
Well, I just say amazing too much. So we'll go with wonderful for today. But
Yes.
Also in the studio is the incredible KP. What's up, KP?
Also known as Christy Porter.
Christy Porter.
Please feel free to call me amazing.
Okay, you are amazing.
Thank
I like
you.
it. He
Thank
said
you.
incredible.
Thank you.
That was.
So today is a big day for us. And
It is.
I was
Oh,
joking
yeah.
around that I have this under banter in my
in
my outlook, my outline.
Yes.
So here's a couple things I want to talk about today. First of all, if we ever make a mistake on this podcast, we own up to it, right?
Yep.
Okay.
For sure.
Did you hear the mistake I made 2 episodes ago? Remember we had Carolyn and Kay
Yeah.
on? And I said this is the first time we had 2 guests. It was not the first time we had 2 additional guests. We did that with John
OAB.
Curzon. Yeah. When we had the accountancy board. So
I forgot.
if you were about to email us about that,
Okay.
I already figured that out.
Yes.
And yes, the other thing is I am saying amazing too much. So I'm going to cut down on that. But let's talk about the lifestyle updates. Okay. Grandbaby still good?
Grandbaby is amazing. Can you believe, as of today's recording, he will be 4 weeks
4
in 2
weeks.
weeks, in 2 days.
Wow.
Yeah. 4 weeks in 2 weeks. Yeah. 4 weeks in 2 days.
That
it's
is
gone by so fast.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he's a smiley baby.
He's a smiley baby. And
my
how's
baby boy.
grandma and grandpa?
It's Papa and Sammy.
Sammy, yes.
I'm not a grandma,
Okay.
but I mean, I am in the technical sense of the word, but I like Sammy better. We're doing great. We're just waiting for these kiddos to move back home.
Yeah.
We just have a few more months.
Yeah.
Yep.
How good for you.
Yep. What about you?
Well,
you
so
have
I
some
have
cool
some
stuff
news.
going.
Yes. So over spring break, she really is an amazing daughter. My oldest daughter finished her PhD.
PhD.
That means doctorate.
Yes.
She finished her PhD at the University of Cincinnati in classical studies.
That's amazing.
Okay, so you have to understand,
Mhm.
I have never been to a dissertation defense before.
Yeah.
But she wrote this 300-page book
Wow.
about a topic. And I think 2/3 of what she was saying in that dissertation just went completely over my head.
Yeah.
I mean, she was so intelligent, so poised in her defense. And what was cool is everyone else in that room knew what she was talking about.
Yeah.
So we didn't, but we just said, baby, you're the best. So I actually do now have a daughter that has her doctorate. She is we call her Dr. Princess.
Doctor, I love that.
I love
Dr.
it
Princess.
But
too.
question, when you have to defend, is it like questions and answer? Is it like a panel where she's got to?
Yeah, sort of.
Okay.
She also let us in on a little bit of information to begin with. She said, usually when you get to this point, it's pretty much a done deal.
Yeah.
It's not like
Okay.
they invite everybody in and then they go, oh, you stink. We're going to get rid of your doctorate.
Yeah.
So
Psych.
we knew it was going to go through, that everything was fine, but they still asked questions, and it's a different arena than what we're used to.
Yeah.
And we went to dinner that night, and I was talking to a couple of her professors, and I said, what's it like when you talk to normies like us? And everything you talk about just kind of goes over our head. And a lot of times it's the same way with us. I mean,
Right.
we get talking tax and all that kind of fun stuff, and people look at us and glaze over. But
Yeah.
So anyway, that was a wonderful trip. One other thing I have that is new. Did you know that the new Harry Styles release has dropped?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And it's based on his running.
Is it?
Yeah.
So
Like, because he started running between.
oh, he ran like the New York City Marathon this year.
Yeah,
didn't he?
I think
Okay.
so. But I mean, he started running in between his concert because we got Brianne up in here telling us about all the things.
Well, see, I have a future daughter-in-law too that is big time Harry Styles.
Yeah.
And so I actually listened to this.
Nice.
And
On your trip?
Yeah, I did. I listened to it. And some of it was good. Some of it I didn't really get, but I liked it. But you got to respect the dudes doing 30 to 40 dates at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
Like a residency in Madison Square Garden.
He's a big deal.
He is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And tickets are only like $1,000 a piece.
But
I
not
think
JT,
that we've
big
put
deal.
the call to action out before, though. I have said I really think that he probably needs some advising.
Yes.
So
if
let's just put it out there.
Yes.
Call
Harry?
to action, Harry, if you're listening.
Yes, we
We
will.
are here.
We can take care of you,
We are
Mr.
here.
Styles.
Mhm.
Yes.
You need us.
So that is the lifestyle banter part of our conversation this morning.
We hope you all enjoyed that.
And to close, no, we're not. So one other really huge thing.
Yes.
And this is what,
okay.
go ahead and announce it. You know what we're announcing.
Are you talking about our room?
Yes. Yeah. Go for it.
Audience, we are in our brand new podcast room, and it is the most amazing thing in the whole entire world. And we're going to say our thank yous at the end, but I'm going to say our thank yous now.
Go for it now. Go for it now.
Dasha freaking knocked it out of the park with this one. We are in a full-fledged podcast room. You know,
It's a studio.
I hope you
Paneling.
Robert, I hope you can hear the sound quality difference between this episode and when we're on Teams.
Yes.
You gripe about that all the time.
Mhm.
Thank you,
Husband,
Robert.
we are now in our official podcast room.
We are officially world famous
Yes.
podcasters now.
Yes.
So,
It feels legit.
but very much so. Thank you to Dasha for all of her incredible help. 'Cause
Yes.
we wouldn't be
Dasha
here
is
if it wasn't for her.
The queen.
All right. So today we're going to get to the good stuff.
Yep.
It's another
She prepped
great.
it for a really special day.
I know.
Yes.
I know.
Mhm.
There's no turning back right now.
Mhm.
And if you are lacing up your shoes to go for a walk or a run, you definitely want to stay. We have a conversation today about branding.
Mhm.
We've done some of that in the past, but we're taking a different route with it today.
Yep.
We're actually going to, I think, open up a little bit and be a little vulnerable about who we are as a firm and what we are learning. And, you know, Sarah, we've talked that I feel like every guest on our show is divinely appointed,
Mhm.
divine encounters. And today is no different. Our guest, and I'm going to let you introduce her,
Okay.
but she's one of my new favorite people.
Yes.
She just has a personality that is glowing, and we've enjoyed working with her. And I just think it's great that she's on the pod today. So why don't you take it away?
All right. Well, and also is pretty cool too, because the first time, I mean, you've been talking with, so our guest today is Jessica Lowe-Betts.
Thank you. I've been waiting to talk.
Yes. And the first time I met Jessica, we were, she was giving, laying out the feedback that we had, that she had already worked through and everything. And Jeff had been working with her for a while. And then after that meeting, and we were going to have another meeting with Jessica before our town, we had a town hall. But after that meeting, I was like, Jeff, I met this lady. And we both said, she needs to be on the podcast.
Yes.
And we were like, let's ask her next time we see her.
And it was the cutest thing too. You're like, do y'all have a moment? Do you have a moment after the meeting we were in? And I'm like, yeah, of course. And so I'm happy to be here. I enjoy working with you, and I'm ready to talk.
Yes. All right. Well, I'm going to give a little background. And I did steal this from the website, so it's going to sound a little cheesy. But so Jessica is a senior vice president with Schnake Turnbo Frank. We just call it Schnake for short, right? Schnake specializes in strategic communication and consulting solutions centered on their clients' needs. And they mainly focus on internal and external communication strategies that help align their organization's messaging and perception. So things like community relations, event planning, crisis management, faith-based consulting, and marketing communications, just to name a few. Jessica has been with Schnake for a while, but she has over 20 years of experience in broadcast journalism, government affairs, communications, marketing. I mean, so much stuff. Such cool stuff. And then she's also deeply involved in the community. I thought this was cool, Jessica. You served as the inaugural chair of the board of directors for Greenwood Rising, which is a museum that tells the story of Tulsa's historic Greenwood district.
Do you think people just automatically know that history, or does it need to be explained slightly?
I think it needs to be explained because
it's important.
Yeah, I mean, because it kind of goes into, because you were also on the marketing committee chair for the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre Centennial Commission. So for those of you that are not familiar with the Tulsa history, we had a horrific...
A complicated history,
Yes.
a complicated racial history.
Yes.
And so thank you for just acknowledging that many people may not know about it, even if you are from Tulsa. And so the Greenwood Rising Black Wall Street History Center is a new museum. It'll be 5 years old in May of this year. But really that tells the full story of Black Wall Street, about not only what happened when the massacre occurred in the district, but the resilience of the community, of the entrepreneurial spirit that still lives there today. And so it is a must-see. If you have not been there, you should go.
Yes. It's amazing. And so I wanted to bring that up because I just think that it is so amazing. And then you're also co-chair for you have co-chaired the Association for Women in Communications Newsmakers event.
Yep.
And then you're a graduate of the 2024 cohort of the African American Leadership Academy. And you're a Public Relations Society of America member at large.
Yes.
Nice job.
Cool
Yes.
stuff.
Thank
Cool
you.
stuff.
Thank you.
Can I
I appreciate
ask one
the
question,
intro.
though?
Yes.
So how long were you in journalism?
That was what my degree was in.
Okay.
And so when I graduated with a journalism degree, I spent about 4 years in the journalism industry. And I worked for a television show that used to be alive on OETA called Oklahoma Horizon.
Okay.
Started out as an intern there and then worked my way up into an associate producer role. So that's the foundation of my career.
So I have a question, and I've always wondered about this. When you have a news reporter come on air, like, the anchor's throwing it to the news reporter, why do they always shake their head yes?
As a sign that you're listening. I
Oh,
mean,
is
I
that
get
it?
it. I mean, really, because you have to rely on the audio. So usually the indication that I can hear you and I'm receiving the question, nodding the head yes, it's
Okay.
like, I got you, we're on the same page.
Okay, so it's really the communication
It's a
between...
communication
okay. All right.
that lets the anchor know they're heard and that the reporter knows it's on you. I'm kicking it to you now.
Because every time I see that, I'm like, we know you're there. You're getting asked. Yeah, I know. I see you. So I've been
What an
waiting for
observation.
years to ask that question to someone who knew what they were
It
talking
is communication,
about. All right.
a verbal, a body language communication.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I gave overview, a huge high level overview. Tell us a little bit about your journey and then why you like to do what you do.
So like we just talked about, I started out in journalism. So I've always had a passion for storytelling and connecting people through lived experience. I wanted to be Oprah Winfrey when I grew up. And I grew up watching her after school and just loved the way that she connected with people. So that's what kind of sparked the interest. After television, moved into the Tulsa business community and worked for the Tulsa Regional Chamber for about 10 years. And even though I was in a number of different roles at the time, including government affairs and event planning, I had to talk to people all the time. It was working with people inside of the organization, but also outside of the organization, understanding what their needs were, what did they want from the business community, and translating that into strategy, building trust and rapport. So the networking piece of my career has really held me since I've been here in Tulsa. Then worked for One Oak for a little bit in the oil and gas industry, but in the people and culture space primarily, for about 5 years. And what is that? That's all about people. It's about culture. It's about seeing people.
A recurring theme here. Yeah.
It's about shared stories. And that was even during pandemic. And so we had to be really creative. And then the Schnake opportunity became available, which it's kind of the culmination of all things I've done. So when you're talking about consulting, it is what do people need?
Yeah.
And how do you build trust with people who need you and are paying for you and your time by the hour to really start seeing some of the results that they want to realize. And so I would just say it's really been by grace and a lot of hard work and networking and relationships that has really brought me to this point.
Yeah, because Tulsa's really a small town.
It is
isn't
a very
Yeah.
small town and everybody knows everybody. And so one thing I always tell people, even just in any interaction, is people are always watching and people know people,
Yeah.
And so you just have to be mindful of that. And I know we're going to talk about branding and marketing, but that's really a huge part of this, right? What are people saying about you when you're not
Absolutely.
there? So that's important.
Okay.
Wow. I'm just still I'm just going to ask this question.
Ask.
It could be a toward the end question, but I'm going to ask it now. Are you an introvert or an extrovert?
What would you guess?
I mean, based on what you say, I would say extrovert, but I'm wondering if you're an introvert a little bit.
I am an introvert.
I think
Yeah.
yeah.
Down. I know how
You can turn it on.
I
Yes.
can turn it
But
on.
when you're done,
You got to recharge.
I'm recharging in the car. I'm putting on my favorite song. I have to decompress and I have to recharge because most of the roles I've been in have been public facing and in front of people and facilitating and having conversations. And podcast and, lunch and learn speaker. But after it's all over, I have to kind of calm down and take that time that I need for silence and quiet time.
See, I needed to get that out there.
That's a great question.
I'm super introverted.
Fantastic. Yes. I hadn't thought about that until you asked it. And then I was like, I can see the extroverted performance, but you have an ability to do what you need to do.
Absolutely.
But then the need to recharge.
Then the need to recharge is so present.
Yeah. Well, and I ask that a lot, especially people that are people facing, like if they have to, like pastors or anything like that, and they're 9 times out of 10, they're introverts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. But we know how to turn it on. We know how to adapt to our environment. We're highly emotional intelligent, so we can read the room. So there's a whole bunch of things that come with that. But it's often misinterpreted, though, that I want to be in every room and go to every event and I have to have energy for that. So if my bank is full of energy, I'm ready. But if it's already on low, we just have to send our decline, politely decline.
Right. All right. Well, then let's get into, now that we know what we know about you, let's get into the meat of what we really kind of want to talk about. So what part of the exercise that we went through is learning about branding, but
we've talked a little bit about what we've been through. Why don't we tell our listening audience what you're referring to when you say what we've been through and how we know Jessica?
Yeah.
I think that would help connect some dots.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. So really, and what I meant in the intro about exposing, being vulnerable and exposing some parts of us, if you go back to one of the first episodes we had last year, we talked about our Net Promoter Score.
Yes.
And so this was, for those that may not have listened to that episode, it was an opportunity for us to gauge our ability to respond to clients by basically asking them, how likely are you to refer this organization to someone you know? And we detailed that whole process in that previous episode. But what we ended up doing was going to an organization like Schnake, and I think we actually were originally going down one path, and then we kind of pivoted, and it became a whole discussion on marketing and branding as it relates to not only the way you feel about yourself and what you're doing, but how are your clients truly reacting to that? What's their perception compared to what your perception is? And it was extremely eye-opening. It was not very far from the NPS initial feedback we got, but we started to dig even deeper into all that. And that was the journey that we went through. And we're going to talk about some of that stuff that we've kind of revealed.
Into details
so
of that.
That's the journey there.
Yeah, the journey. So, but in that, marketing and branding, those are two completely different things. But people use them interchangeably.
Yes.
So I have a question, let's finish the sentence. Okay. Marketing is and branding is.
Okay. Very good question. And I'm glad we're starting there. So marketing is how you tell your story. And it's all the shiny things that you use to tell your story. So the logo, the website, the merchandise, the swag, that's marketing. Branding is the story people experience and repeat when you're not in the room.
Ooh.
So branding is all about the experience that people have when they are engaging with you, your customers, your employees, your partners, and they have this idea about who you are even when you're not here. Just like when you think of the McDonald's logo, you already think of the hot fries and you think of the chicken nuggets or whatever it is that you like there, or the big breakfast in the morning, or the hot coffee. Some people really stand on that coffee.
Crispy Diet Coke.
Whatever it is, it's already there. It's that's based on your experience, whether you saw the yellow M or not, right? And so that's the distinguishing difference here when we're talking about marketing and branding.
When people start using those, like if you catch somebody using those interchangeably, how do you stop them?
Yeah. So I'll really ask, and now it's easier for me to say because I'll just stop them, literally in the conversation.
Idea what you're saying.
Yeah. I'll just say, well, you're talking now about your marketing campaign, which is measurable. A lot of people like to talk about, their website and how many clicks they're getting, or what does the search engine optimization look like. And so those are the marketing things. Those are more about the tactics. And so typically when I hear someone saying, well, our marketing efforts, I'm speaking specifically about the tactics. And I'll ask them, I just want to make sure we're talking about the same thing. But your brand is, I think, a little bit harder to measure in terms of what you're used to measuring when you're measuring your marketing efforts, right? So branding, let's talk about your retention. How many people stay at your company because they believe in what it is that you do? Let's talk about your net promoter score, right? What are the results of that net promoter score? What are the numbers telling us? Because that then is more about the brand experience than it is about if they saw your logo or not.
Right. And I think in our industry, correct me if I'm just speaking out my butt here, but that's a real technical term. In our industry, I think it's more about the brand than it is the marketing. Because who goes and picks a tax expert or an auditor or something like that off of an ad? I would think it's mostly always related to a referral or a warm introduction, and that speaks to the brand. Right?
And for you, absolutely. You've been around a long time, over 40 years. And so
20, almost 30 years.
Almost 30 years. I'm sorry.
Jeff's been around for over 40 years.
Almost 30 years.
Wow.
But
you fell into that.
Yeah, that was you would have thought we practiced that.
Yeah, we did.
But that kind of tenure where people have the experience, again, of you doing what it is that you say you will do for clients and then getting those referrals, that is your brand, right? And people they don't mind picking up the phone to tell a friend about the services you provide because they've gotten those services. So that's exactly what it is. And you have that tenure here. You have that credibility here. And so that's something that I believe you should be very proud of.
Yeah. In reading stuff previously I always forget his name, but he's the guy that worked at Disney for years and years. And he said basically it's the concept that you walk off the elevator into in the foyer and there just something feels right. It feels a certain way and you can't really put your finger on it, but it's there and it's valuable and it's important to you. And so I think that's really what we're shooting for in all of this. So, so kind of just walk us through a little bit. We did this NPS score. We actually had a good response, a good score. I mean, we were in a high percentage for the industry itself.
We did good.
But there's always room for improvement.
100, yep.
And so, Jessica, kind of walk us through, obviously we're not going to get into specifics and details, but the issues we were finding compared to this branding and the NPS and how it kind of all works together.
Yeah, so the NPS scores, you're right, was kind of the first stop at CCK saying, interested in knowing what people think and how they're experiencing the firm. And most of what you saw, you'd already assumed, but to be able to validate that with data is huge, right? And so from there, Schnake, Carrie and I said, okay, so what about other stakeholder inputs? And how do we overlay all of this on top of this foundational NPS score to see kind of if there's some alignment? And of course, right after that, we said, okay, we asked the partners, send us client lists. Come up with about 10 to 12 clients whose opinion you trust. You've been working with them and you care about what they think. And so all the partners sent us a list of people to survey. And we did that. We got on Teams calls with clients, or either we asked them questions via email and they responded to those. That wasn't enough. After that, we said, okay, now let's talk about the internal brand.
Right.
Because everything that you do internally does have some effect on what's happening externally. How you talk about your brand, how you talk about your story, what you think and experience, those things directly connect to what the outside world experiences. So then we got with all the partners and asked very similar questions. What do we want to be known for? What is it? What are our key priority areas? Are there areas we're not focused on that we should be focused on? When we say this word, what does it mean? So we went to the partners and asked the same questions, managing directors, and then the entire workforce. Every CCK employee got a chance to weigh in. So why would we do something like that? So that every effort outside of this kind of strategic roadmap where CCK is going and your brand identity has a synergy behind it. And it is upheld in a way that feels like, okay, this is the direction forward we all need to be taking. And we're speaking the same language. It also identifies, what are we missing? Where are there gaps, right? It's one thing to assume everything's okay, but when you start asking people and they're identifying blind spots, that's another layer, right? And so all of this, in our opinion, is important work because this work will be what informs the marketing strategy. Which audiences are you interested in tapping into where you have not been before, right? What does the ideal client look like, right? And so that's where you decide where your advertising should be and where you should be spending money. How is your website navigation? And so we take the foundational branding, brand identity work, and then you use that to inspire your marketing work.
I think one of the really neat things about this process is being in like the partner group. You think that everybody understands or thinks the same way you do. You define things the same way. It just seems logical that everybody would think a certain way. And just to start off, we found out that not everybody, even in the partner group, and this is 8 people.
This is real.
Was thinking the same way.
Yeah.
And so trying to get that group was one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like you said, we expanded to our next group of leadership, which is about 10 people. And that they think about things a different way. And then you go to the firm as a whole. And did you find that as you expanded those, not classes, but groups of teammates, that it started the narrative or the insight started to change a little bit?
Absolutely. So, at the partner level, when partners are talking about organizational growth and they're speaking of it in a way that feels like, okay, this means that we're going to expand our client pipeline or we're going to add more employees and expand teams. Okay, that's one idea and perception of the word growth. So when we got in front of the managing partners, they were like, okay, so we're thinking about not only the what, but the how. So when it comes to knowledge transfer and growth, what does that actually look like from a process perspective? So again, partners, we have a very high level overview. We're very visionary, right? And we see the destination, we see the light at the end of the tunnel. But as we started adding layers of different groups to give us a little bit more clarity, it was, okay, that's a great idea, but what does it really mean operationally? What does that look like from a workforce resource perspective? Is that even within our capacity?
Right.
And if it's not, what does the capacity need to be to match what the vision is? And so again, we're all kind of speaking, I would say, around the same ideas and goals, but the way in which we get there, that part was where we saw some gaps based on the people that we were speaking with. And so then Schnake, our role is, okay, here are some of the gaps, right? If we want to grow, do we have the workforce and the right resources in place to do that? When we say strategies, what does that mean? What does advisory mean? Because we are a CPA firm. We know how to do that. But when we're talking about an advisor level of service, what does that model look like? And who gets to define that? So you see how this has been a process that has evolved since we started about a year ago.
Yeah. And I like what you had to say about we can all think we're going a certain way, which is in one level of leadership. But then when you get to the levels that are actually implementing and doing the processes, I think it's hilarious that even in our firm, people think that partners know everything. and we just don't. We don't know how to work the software. We don't know how to...
We're not in the day-to-day.
I can barely use a telephone sometimes. So to hear what we want to do and what's actually going on, I think is extremely valuable. And so I think the process was good also from the perspective that it taught everybody that no matter where you are in the firm, you have a role to play.
Absolutely.
And it's a very specified role to play, and it's important. And it may be different than anybody else in the firm. And so no matter where you are, and I thought that was a real important thing that came to light through the process.
Well, I've appreciated that the leaders here have invited people to share their voice and their ideas and their lived experiences. That is something that I believe is a gift. Feedback is a gift. And so when you open the door and you invite people to participate from their lens, that only makes you better, right? And only makes you stronger. And you mentioned the word vulnerability. And sometimes you have to hear the hard thing you may not have wanted to hear or you weren't anticipating hearing, but it was helpful for you to know. Had you not asked, you wouldn't know. So I just want to shout that out as something I think is impressive and shouldn't be taken for granted, because every organization doesn't invite the entire organization inside of their process.
This is for me personally, where I feel a rub is that, yes, I'm going to ask you for your feedback, but then what do I do with that feedback? So how have you helped organizations when they are going through this process to be like, hey, you got this feedback. We see this gap. Now let's fill the gap.
And first of all, you thank people for participating. So, but let them know that, yes, we heard you and we appreciate that. But then for the leaders of that organization, those who are responsible for the strategic plan, for the sustainability of the organization, it is on those leaders to make the critical decisions as to how they're using that data to build a pathway forward. Now, it doesn't mean that every single suggestion will be implemented,
Right.
but at least you're hearing. Here's an example. Many organizations will find surprises when they see survey data from employees. And one of the surprises that I'll often hear is, but we already do that. That software is actually really new. It's the best. But what the data informs you, what the survey results show you is that you didn't do a good job telling that story. So sometimes it's not about pulling all of that into an action plan. Sometimes it's what do we need to be better communicating to our employees to know that we're actually doing that or we've made significant progress. So as we find not only in bringing this input into a roadmap or a plan, it is also what do we need to be communicating now that we know what our employees are actually thinking. Because some of the stuff we've already addressed, we just didn't do a good job telling that story. So I think we're seeing ourselves a little bit there too here, where we just need to do a better job of communicating.
Yeah, I think that was the big takeaway. I think we talked about that even from an NPS perspective, that we were learning we need to do a better job of communicating our services. We need to do a better job of communicating our value because we just think that everybody understands it completely and they just don't. And that's fine. We just need to, and it's not bragging.
Right.
It's just explaining. And I think we also found, again, through this process that there were a lot of things that we thought we were communicating to our teammates and we were not. And it's just information that needs to be...
It just needs to be out there.
It just needs to be out there just to share. And again, it's not, even if we're talking about like benefits or things of that nature, it's not a matter of saying, you should be thankful for this because not everybody does it, but it's not everybody knows exactly what's common in the industry or from an employer.
And I'm glad you brought up the customer perspective too, because it's the same thing. It's filling in the gap. Whereas some of the NPS feedback where we kind of read through some of the comments, now it's time to just go back and provide clarity on what that means. For instance, you were talking about value. What is the value? What is the perceived value of the service versus how it was billed? Well, again, that doesn't mean fundamentally change everything. It just means make sure clients know billing, like they understand what their invoice means.
Right.
Yes.
Again, that's a communication. And so these findings help us not only decide where we need to go and evolve, but also where we might need to address some gaps that we just haven't done a great job filling before.
So this data that you're talking about, what kind of data is it? Because from what I've seen, it's mostly survey responses, comments. How do you run that through your filters and to use your expertise to turn that into something productive in this process?
So we thank God for artificial intelligence. We definitely use AI as a firm through many different resources that we have that can help us with things like, this is what we would call research. And so Carrie has a way of pulling all of the research into her AI tool and then aggregating it by themes, by percentages, who participated, what did the open field comments say, are there any themes identified there? And so we will scrub the AI data. Now, I will say, it is not just putting it in the system and walking away saying this is what it is. I mean, we literally have to read over everything and make sure that the data is actually accurate. And there are sometimes we found, using technology that we have to fix some things.
That's called hallucination.
Right. We just have to see what it spits out, and then we're continuing to refine that. But that is the data. Survey data, open comments. We did several in-person meetings here with the staff. We had some focus group discussions with customers. We took all of that, put it into our system, and then withdrew the themes and the percentages and what the information told us. And then we come back and talk about it. And you can ask questions. So it's not just us handing you a big report and saying, here's what we learned. It's us walking through each of those stakeholder inputs and seeing what the biggest takeaways are. Where do we see alignment? And then where are there outliers? What may have come up that we weren't expecting? The beautiful thing about this project is I don't think anything surprised you.
No,
I mean, nothing. It seemed like there was nothing that was surprising, which is good too, because you're able to then do that gut check and affirm kind of your assumptions and use that data as an overlay of that.
Well, I guess at the end of the day, you would hope that there's more synergy with the communication than you actually hear. But it's also good to hear in that kind of situation where it's like, all right, this is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. Now, whatever we hear, we just need to work on. Like you said, Sarah, it's a matter of then taking it. I mean, that's one thing that we've been continually concerned about is we can't just take this information and then just let it sit. Any kind of survey, even if it's what kind of pizza do you want? Our teammates need to know that we're listening and that we are doing our best to kind of react to those kind of things. So Jessica, this process, you haven't done this a whole lot, right? There were aspects of this project that were kind of unique. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I mean, because you have a Frisco office, and so we were trying to make sure that we identified the right people to participate in the process overall from its inception to now. And then for those, here's an example. When we invited the entire staff to participate in the survey, we did an in-person meeting here in the Tulsa office, but we had to make sure that everyone remotely could have that same amount of access to that presentation and to be engaged and participate. And so I'm not saying we had never done that before, but every organization is different and unique. And so making sure that we could serve you in your current state, where you are right now, in the best way is always a learning opportunity, because again, that does not mean that every other client has those same unique needs. And so, we've done this kind of process before, but I don't think I've seen in my 3 years at Schnake someone take it so deeply like you all have. And it has been, again, not that you wanted to check the box and say we did it. You want to check the box, say we did it, and then say, now what? What does this tell us? What do we need to do moving forward? And how do we bring this next generation firm along? Yeah. It is not on the shoulders of the partners and the managing directors. It is on all of us. And I think you've done a great job communicating that this is our shared journey. This is something that all of us get to be a part of. And so I think what we're inside of right now is figuring out the next time we come back to staff with what we've been able to discover based on their input, and then kind of charting that path forward. What do we do from here? And like Carrie and I could tell you all day, we've got a number of ideas, but we don't want to do it without you. Right. And so I think that that's unique.
Yeah, I thought the whole process was interesting. I thought it was great how the different opinions came out. Like you said, we were not surprised at all with anything. And the interesting thing was, I don't think we started off, I think I referenced this before, we didn't really start off down this road. But the more we got into the process, the more it started to develop. And you mentioned the kind of the transition. The other thing that we had is we had the transition to a second generational firm from a partner perspective with our founders transitioning along. And so it was, I think that was the first time that our teammates really heard, hey, this is a big deal to transition in this way. And not everybody does it well. And we're really trying to get it right. And so that's part of the reason why we went down that process.
So that is, now that you said it, that's the first time I've seen that.
Okay.
This is the first time I have seen, and again, my time at Schnake has only been, 3 years, but across my business, my career here in Tulsa, I have not seen an organization so intentionally say, as we are entering into the next iteration of our existence, we are going to spend this much time really digging into who we are and our brand identity so that we can really think about what that identity, how that carries on into the next generation. Carrie and I both were like, oh, this is great. This is a wonderful case study and something I would encourage other organizations to be thinking about.
Well, and that's what I wanted to bring up too. I mean, like that was our why, or sparked our why of why we did this. But what would you say to our listeners, like if they're looking to like, hey, this branding thing looks to be like a good idea, but I mean, what do I need to look for internally in our organization to know whether or not we need to find out what our brand is?
Yeah, I think it's important. You could ask yourself this question now, wherever you are in any organization you are working for. The question is, what are we known for? And how do we know? You could look at your client list as one example and start to kind of get that picture. But what are we known for? And then the next thing I would ask is, if we ask this question of the people on our team or across our organization, would they say the same thing? Another good question to ask yourself is, why do people work here? What keeps them coming here and working here? Because that's usually tied to your brand, right? Yeah, and it's usually tied to your mission, your vision, and your values, to the things, your core values, what you care about. So I would start there. What are we known for? What is our reputation? Does everybody if we ask this question of everyone in our organization, are they saying something similar? And then who do we want to be when we grow up, right? Are we there? Is it always going to be this way? I mean, as most of us know in this human life, things change. You have to stay relevant. There comes some change management and growth opportunities there, and you've got to be agile for that. But those are some starting questions that I would encourage everyone just to begin thinking through and maybe having some larger conversations.
And knowing that it is not just so everyone knows too, like this is a long process. I mean, because it is.
It's not just a 30-minute meeting.
It's not a 30-minute meeting. It's not a survey and you put it on the shelf somewhere. Change takes time. And again, if we're not changing a lot, you're still thinking about how you're communicating and how you're articulating that story and adapting the processes in place to make that real. But it does take time. And I think, again, you're right here, right at this, keep saying second generation. Yeah. And so that's work. And there are voices that need to be lifted in these conversations and there are ears that need to be opened to hear. But that takes work.
Yeah.
Well, I remember through this process, one of the things I thought was extremely beneficial was you have it goes back to the vision versus the operations. You have the partner group going, we want to grow, we want to continue to expand. These are the things we want to do. And you've got our teammates in the trenches going, wait a second.
And what? And
I
how?
need
and
to know how.
And their intentions, your intentions as partners and leaders are real. I mean, they're good. They're grounded on great things.
Right.
But for the people who have to carry it out and do the work, like you want to be kind to them and make sure that they have some input, you know, because they're the ones who are going to be doing the work and lifting it up and making sure it happens.
And their stressors are different than our stressors.
Absolutely.
And not that ones are more important or bigger. It just is what it is.
Because if you say growth and I already feel burned out and I already feel like I'm, tapping out, when you say growth, what I automatically hear is more work.
Yeah,
exactly.
So that's exactly why, again, these conversations are important. So when we say growth, this is what we mean. And back to your point, it doesn't happen overnight. We're not going to dump a whole new load of clients on your book of business. And so those are the conversations that have to happen, and you have to give yourself time.
Yeah.
So where are we on this process now, Jessica? Are we almost done with it, or is it a continual thing?
Well, at least in the information gathering, we are. And so right now, Aaron Spoon is in the process of creating kind of a strategic roadmap, strategic visionary, document. And what Schnake is going to do is help him overlay that with the brand identity work that we've done to kind of, again, everything needs to be coordinated. And so that's the next step. And then from there, we need to build out, we need to come back to the staff and tell the staff, thank you so much for participating. Here's what we learned. This is the strategic direction and brand identity direction moving forward. And then it's going to be a lot of tactics like, okay, I see this and, you all have to weigh in and buy into it. But I think you'll probably need to set up a couple of committees to concentrate on very specific areas, right? If billing is one, great. If institutional knowledge transfer is another, great. But I see you kind of branching out into standing up these kind of committee teams that are tasked with one of these areas or pillars, if you will, and then coming up with that particular strategy. And you still didn't hear me say website and logo and color, right?
I would much rather pick a color than
but I think there may be some tweaks too that we can think about when it comes to that. But again, most of what I'm talking about is foundational.
Yeah.
Well, it goes back to the point that it doesn't mean what was done previously is any worse or better than what we're changing to. It's just, in our situation, it was a firm that was started 28 years or so ago by 3 individuals, and it's grown to over 120, 130 people. And that just takes change to do that.
Well, and we just have I think we have to have the mindset too. We have the heart to want to keep it. Keep it where it intact and we care about.
Well, the bottom line is we tend to enjoy the teammates that we work with every day. And so we want to make sure the things that we're saying that are important to us end up being important to everybody else, and that we care about what they're saying you just don't want to drive people away.
Right.
And so we want to continue to keep our valuable teammates here. We don't want them going somewhere else.
Absolutely. So keep talking about what's ahead and keep engaging them and keep making sure that they know that they are too a part of this process. They can jump on board. And then for the ones, and I always say this, and I get to say this as a consultant, for the ones who don't necessarily see themselves as a part of the new or the vision ahead, that's okay.
That's okay.
It is okay.
No,
You know,
it
you want
actually
people to
is.
make those choices for themselves, and that's okay too. Like I give people permission to have the power of their own choices. And sometimes people just need to hear that, right? They don't have to leave disgruntled,
Yeah.
but they could say, that sounds great for CCK. And I'm thinking about a different direction for myself. And CCK would likely say, that's great. We wish you the best. It's been wonderful working with you. So all of those things are allowed and change.
Yeah, I think that's been one of the neat things through this process as well, is it gives everybody a chance to see where we're going, what we're doing, if they want to be
That's right.
part of it. And if you don't, it's totally okay. I mean, one of the things we're learning is you don't have to grow up to be a partner. We have way more extremely valuable positions that need to be filled, and not everybody can fill those positions. So it's not you need to go somewhere if you don't want to be partner. We don't want that.
I'm so glad you're saying that, because the definition of success people need to define for themselves.
Oh, that's good.
And some people, if you have a young person, they might be saying, well, success for me is owning a private jet and blah, blah, blah. Well, that's not success for everybody. And like you said, partner may not be the destination that everybody wants. Right. But if you outline options and opportunities to develop a development plan and track for people, I bet you that'll get them inspired.
Yeah.
To match what they want and what they're hungry for.
Absolutely. Well, Sarah, this has been a big journey for us.
It has.
It's been a complicated journey too. It's not really solid. It's kind of you go by feel a lot of, and it's that touchy feely stuff that we do really good with.
Yes, accountants are so good at that. No, that's probably been the hardest part.
It's kind of getting you out of your comfort zone a little.
100%.
Well, and I've loved being in these meetings with Jessica and her partner and just hearing what they come up with, because again, we all have different gifts and talents, and yours is to be able to decipher that kind of information and present it in such a way that's valuable to a bunch of black and white tax people. And so congratulations to you for doing that.
But that's the emotional intelligence we were talking about, because many of you said it earlier, you've been here a while, and that's something to be very proud of. But when you're talking about change for people who have been in an organization for a while, there can be a feeling of loss sometimes with, well, what are we losing? What are we moving away from as we go into this new era of opportunity? So what I like to do is consider all of it.
Yeah.
Consider the legacy makers and consider the founders who poured so much into this place that allows you to stand today, and appreciating that. And then as we're thinking again about what's next, it's not necessarily saying, okay, gone with the old, out with the old, in with the new. It's saying, what do we carry forward to keep the legacy alive?
Right.
So with that, sometimes does come loss because it's different.
Yeah.
But we like to honor, and I say schnocky, the whole story, all of it. And I think that's something we've done well.
I think so for sure.
Well, and it's not like we're just changing. It's the industry as a whole.
Now that is
changing.
so true, right?
Yes.
And you have to go with it.
You do, or else you get left behind.
Come on, Blockbuster. You got to go with it.
Well, again, and I have to tell you, I've been struggling this whole episode to keep from calling you Jessica. Have you seen that Seth Rogen show where they have the lizard and it's called
me?
Okay, I'm sorry. I went. There's a lizard on a show and they call her Jessica.
Jessica.
Okay,
Jessica. So we can probably edit all that out too. So
or keep it. It's funny.
For some people, yes.
Well, Sarah, is it time?
Yes, it is time.
For our second tradition.
Yes.
That we probably didn't get told about. So it is time for
Rapid Fire. If y'all could see her face at that. So
I expected confetti or something.
Yeah, no. So this is where you get rapid fire questions.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
y'all didn't tell me about
I know we didn't. That's a surprise. All right. So first question. What was your last used emoji?
Oh, what was my last used emoji? Probably the emoji that looks up like it's rolling its eyes.
Nice.
Yeah, that definitely.
Love
yeah.
that. Love that. All right. Are you a beach or a mountains girl?
Beach.
Nice.
I love the sound of water. It's therapeutic for me.
Nice.
Absolutely.
All right. Are you socks on or barefoot at home?
Barefoot all day.
Right?
Yes. Hands
Good,
down.
good,
Absolutely.
good. All right. Do you lead with your head or your heart?
My heart. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
such an empath.
Oh, I
the head
love
comes later, but the heart's first, always.
All right. Good deal. And then last, what's your go-to procrastination move?
My go-to procrastination, I think it's probably watching a little bit of reality TV.
Oh, okay.
You know, just to reset my mind. And I love Housewives of Atlanta in case anybody watches that. But just to kind of reset and laugh a little bit and say, oh my goodness, that's crazy. And then go back to whatever.
And be
I need
like,
to
I'm
focus
not,
on.
thank goodness I'm not like that.
Thank goodness I'm not like that. I love to see all of that crazy because I'm like, how do they live like that? But then I come back to reality. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can do this. I can knock this report out.
Right?
Do you tell your husband and kids that you're not that way, so they should
They
appreciate
know,
you?
but they know I'm watching too. They're like, okay, mom's watching her show. Yeah. But
So we affectionately refer to that as Sunday night trash TV
Yes.
in our house.
yes, that's exactly what
we
it
watch
is.
90 Day
Okay.
Fiance. So I don't know. I got this gift from our partner, our other partner, Dewan,
Mhm.
went to Malaysia for about 30 days
Oh,
at the end of the
wow.
year. And he brought me back this little gift, and it's a little jeepney thing. And he goes, you know what that is? I'm like, oh, sure, I know what it is, Dewan. I watch 90 Day Fiance. They travel on these things all the time. So,
Yeah, I don't know. Any reality TV show just takes me. I guess sometimes I just like, let me get out of my reality for a minute and watch something really bananas.
so I can feel really good about myself.
Yes, and then come back. Yeah, maybe that. Maybe that's-
Okay, so besides the Secret or the Lives that what else do you watch besides the Atlanta one?
Married to Medicine. I watch Housewives of Potomac. I mean, anything.
Oh.
Anything on Bravo TV usually.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I've watched the Kardashians before.
Wow, you really
I
are
just
trashy
don't-
there.
I'm telling you, it's just like, okay, what is happening in the real world? No, let's go and see over here with all this extreme stuff.
Right.
And then come back to the real world. It just kind of centers me. I'm like, oh, I'm glad I don't have friends like that. If you have friends
Right.
like that, who needs enemies?
Yes,
You know?
Yes.
But, yeah.
absolutely right.
Love
Well, Jessica, thank you for being a wonderful guest today and for putting up with all of our questions. We really enjoyed it. We enjoyed the information. It was an arduous process. Is that the right word
Yeah.
that we
Yeah.
went through? And we're
Mhm.
really, really glad that you and Carrie were the ones to. I
Me
think I
too.
told you on one of the first times we met, I was in a meeting and I said, Jessica, I wasn't really sure exactly
Yes.
where we were going with all this,
Mhm.
but I'm so glad I understand it now and that you're partnering with us.
Mhm.
You were an amazing teammate in that process. So, and we would highly
I'll take
recommend it
that
to
word.
anybody that wants to do the same thing. So, what's the best way to reach you? How can someone connect with you if they want to learn more about the process we went through?
Yes, Jessica at Schnake, and I will spell it because
Yes.
it's not the easiest word to spell. I still mess it up. SCHNAKE.com. And then if you just want like a general, you want to ask a question or, inquiry from our firm, you can also email contact@schnake.com. But that'll get you wherever you need to be if you're looking for executive search services or you want coaching or you need PR help or culture work, you can find us.
All that
Nice.
stuff.
Good
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah, I would encourage anyone that has a desire to reach out to actually do it and have that conversation
Yeah,
because you never
just have
know.
a conversation. It doesn't mean that you're locking yourself into a contract. We can just
Yes.
have a conversation.
You won't get a
and see-
bill
You
right
won't get a
away.
bill right. We will not charge you for a conversation.
Well, speaking of communication, there's our email address, Sarah.
Yes.
We are not getting the emails. We need to put out that general. We
Just
need
do it.
emails.
Yeah.
Email us.
Email us.
something.
We want your comments. We want your questions.
We want to know what you like,
Yes.
what you dislike, how Sarah drives you nuts, how Jeff just makes you feel so good.
or uses
every
that. Maybe we can have somebody reach out and tell us how many times Jeff uses amazing in each podcast.
There's a Tumblr in it for you.
Hey, I will say, and I know he's going to listen to this. I remember we had Ox
Yeah.
on the show, and I said he was our Tumblr winner for season 2, and I was able to spend some time with him at his firm last week, and he was excited about the Tumblr.
That's amazing.
He
That's
said
so
he
good.
was going to put it on his shelf, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm a international podcasting star."
That's right.
And But no, we want to hear from you. If you have any thoughts or ideas for an upcoming episode, or you just have questions, podcast at cckcpa.com. That's podcast at cckcpa.com. Again, always thank you to CCK for allowing us this opportunity to do this platform and have fun doing it. To Christy Porter, thanks for all you do. To Robert, who already got called out today,
yes.
But thank you for the intro, outro. We have Clarence back in the studio. Clarence Fisher with Tulsa Internet Marketing Services. Emily Johansson, thank you for everything you do behind the scenes. And again, Dasha Janko Ferguson, thank you for getting us into this space. We hope you enjoyed the show, and join us next time as these two CPAs get together to have a chat and you get to find out who is on the mic.
The information provided on this podcast is for general informational and educational purposes only and does not constitute accounting, tax, legal, or financial advice. While we strive to provide accurate and up-to-date information, laws and regulations change and individual circumstances vary. Always consult with a qualified CPA or professional advisor before making any financial or business decisions. The views expressed by the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of any organizations they are affiliated with. Listening to this podcast does not create a client-accountant relationship. By listening to this podcast, you acknowledge and agree to those terms. And that's a wrap for this episode of Two CPAs and the Mic. If you found today's episode helpful, please subscribe, share, and leave us a review. Have questions or ideas for a topic? Reach out. We'd love to hear from you. Email us at podcast@cckcpa.com.